Great. Good morning, everybody. My name is Jeremy Jaley. I'm Business Development Lead here at Smart Impact. I'm coming to you this morning from a gloriously sunny Sussex. I can send you madrigalian welcomes. It really does feel like spring has sprung this morning, which is absolutely lovely. And what a wonderful climate to talk about something that we absolutely love, which is what's coming in the latest Microsoft Dynamics 365 and Power Platform wave releases, which are starting in a few weeks' time in April. There are a couple of presenters this morning, myself and Chris. Good morning, Chris. How are you doing?
Good morning. Very good. Thank you, Jeremy.
Have you got lovely weather where you are as well?
It's beautiful. I can see the sky. It feels like it's been a while.
Chris and I work very closely together, but we live diametrically other sides of London from each other. Chris is going to be running quite a few demos this morning of new features, bits and pieces that we think people will be interested in. Just a few notes on webinar etiquette. We're going to record the session this morning, so don't feel that you need to scribble hundreds of notes as we go along. Pour yourself a cup of coffee, sit back, relax and enjoy. If you'd like to ask any questions, we've got a chat functionality set up in the Teams interface. So just use the chat box, ask the question. We'll try and answer things in line if they're easy to answer. Otherwise, we'll keep them for the end of the session, and we'll try and wrap up with a little bit of Q&A to cover anything that we don't get to. A few quick words about Smart Impact. So Smart Impact is a Microsoft partner that works exclusively with professional membership organizations and charities that have membership as a key part of what they do. We've been in business since 2007, so I think that's 18 years. And throughout that time, a mainstay of our work has been delivering membership management and customer and stakeholder engagement systems on Dynamics 365 and Power Platform. And we've actually extended the platform with a host of Power Apps. There's a selection of them on the right-hand side of the screen there that extend Dynamics 365 functionality into areas that are relevant to membership organizations, effectively filling a white space in the Microsoft offering. Microsoft specializes on general CRM capabilities. We filled that space with specialist professional body, awarding body and trade association functionality. We also have a practice focused on delivering data-driven portals and websites. So a large focus of our customers when working with their data is giving members and others access to self-service, signposting them to relevant information, relevant content, events, CPD, all the types of activities that professional membership organizations undertake. We've got a practice focused on high performance data architectures in Microsoft Azure. That's helping organizations to really get the most out of their data, high volume transactions, fast performing websites, data analysis, data visualization in tools like Fabric and Power BI. And we also have an emerging practice, probably very relevant to the session today, based on practical AI. And over the last 2 years, we've been working with organizations to take advantage of some of the latest and greatest AI tools that are available both from Microsoft and beyond. We do quite a bit with ChatGPT as well. So in terms of today's agenda, what we've done is we have been through all of the planned features for the Dynamics 365 and Power Platform Wave 1 release for 2025. I think it's something like 250 features in total that we have reviewed. And what we did was we went through every single feature. Chris and I discussed them. We talked about which of the features were relevant to our customers, which were the features that, are particularly exciting in terms of the direction of travel for Microsoft, anything that we thought was particularly helpful and useful. And after discussing them, we effectively ranked them. And I think we've got something like 15 to 20 today that we want to call out. They're the ones that we think are most relevant, most interesting to our client base. This is the second time Chris and I have worked on doing this in this methodical way, and we've actually learned quite a lot from the process. So just in case you're not au fait with how Microsoft releases new functionality into the platforms, they undertake 2 wave releases every year. What a wave release is basically it's a period of time, about 6 months, during which they iteratively release new functionality into the platform. Some of that functionality is preview, so features to come. Some of it's general availability, so new features launching into the platform, sort of signed, sealed, delivered, ready for customers to use in anger. And they do 2 of these releases. The first one's between April and September, the second between October and March, and they publish documentation about those releases a couple of months ahead. So I think we got access to this information around about the 20th of January. Some of the things that we've learned, you have to keep attention to changes. Microsoft do amend the documentation for the releases during the period up to the wave release starting, so between January and April. That's because they bring new features in, they take features out. Not everything that they announce in the initial documentation actually makes it through as full release candidates. So you do have to sort of just pay attention to changes as you go along. You have to pay attention to the type of release, whether it's preview or general availability or some other status of release. You have to pay attention to the territories that feature is going to be released into. Last year, this seemed to be more of a problem. And I think this was related to the use of AI and what you could get away with in terms of AI in different territories. So I think the EU have more stringent rules around data protection because of GDPR. It took a little longer for Microsoft to work out how precisely to deliver some of their AI capabilities into that territory. And so we found last year that there were a lot of things just releasing into North America. That seems to have changed now. Everything that we're looking at today has been released into UK and Europe, and I think that probably is not going to be such a big issue moving forward, but we will of course keep an eye on it. And you have to pay attention to dates, particularly when preparing for a session like this, because there are several things that we would love to be able to show you this morning that haven't yet been released even into preview mode. So some things we're just going to have to talk about through slides, but we are going to try and show you as much as we possibly can. We've put all the dates up on the screen during this presentation so that you can see them. I think one final thing we just wanted to say before we get into the detail is that there are also lots of other sources of information out there for you to find out what's going on in the wave releases. YouTube is a wealth of information, and there are lots and lots of content producers who provide lots of insights into features. Definitely recommend Lisa's channel. She's got fantastic stuff, and if you're like me, enticed by beautiful colors, then she'll get you hooked. And of course, Microsoft's website has full documentation. It's got the formal release information that we are building on today, and is a wealth of information as well. So in terms of our approach, obviously our main objective is to highlight our favorite features from the forthcoming wave release, and I think we've got about 17 or so of those to show. We're also going to do some demoing, so some live demo in CRM and Powerplatform to show you some new features in action. Some of the things that we're going to show you are based on functionality from previous wave releases. I think we'll be pretty candid about that when we do. But obviously what's been happening since October to today is the Wave 2 2024 features have been being released, and some of them have only dropped in the last few weeks. So definitely worthwhile just highlighting some of those where they're relevant. And then, as I said, my sort of health warning for this morning is that unfortunately not everything that we want to talk about and flag is available to demo yet, but obviously Smart Impact will be endeavouring to get the news out about these features as they become available. So into the material, the first thing to say is that Microsoft always wraps its wave releases into a series of themes that it really is using to drive forward its product roadmap and highlight what's important in what it's doing. And these themes are pretty important because you will see these ideas tend to blend into the specific features that are released. So in terms of Dynamics 365, and remember Dynamics 365 are the first party apps, so they're sales CRM, customer service CRM, and customer insights, which is the marketing automation platform. The three things that Microsoft's focusing in there is leveraging AI to automate processes. There is a lot of AI in this wave release. It's basically in every single feature one way or another. And the theme with AI, matching what's going on in the wider industry, of course, is that it's moving from generative chat, so effectively you asking questions and it giving you answers based on what it can see on the screen, to supporting organizations to automate actions, what's described as agentic, so effectively using AI to do helpful things for people as they're using the system. There's also a big motion around personalizing customer interactions. Again, AI impacts on this a lot because one of the ways that you can personalize what you see on screen, what you do with the system, is using generative AI to tell you things about the data that you're looking at. So that's another thing that you'll see quite a bit of. And then for the wider Dynamics 365 suite of apps, there's a lot of crossover between the various areas. So effectively making it easier for teams like your sales team, your customer service team to collaborate and cross app functionality that makes data available in one visible in others to make things a lot easier. I'm going to show you something around that in the customer service app. Similar themes in Power Platform. Power Platform, of course, is the underlying database that you use to build business processes and which Dynamics 365 apps run on. And the whole point of Power Platform is to help businesses to digitally transform by making it easier for you to capture and use data. So that remains a key theme throughout. Again, AI is pretty pervasive. There's lots and lots of AI tools, both in Power Platform itself, so where makers are creating apps, and in terms of tools that you can deploy in the end user CRM that just make it a lot easier for you to do things that in the past were probably slightly technical. A big one of those is natural language querying. So you will see that there are quite a few places where you can use natural language instead of having to build traditional filter-based queries. And of course, there are agentic features being built out. We are particularly excited about Microsoft Copilot Studio, and I think we've got a fairly sizable section on that at the end of today because we think this is just a really, really cool addition to the Power Platform stack. So I'm going to whiz through some of these first features, but the first one that we wanted to call out was Boost Qualified Pipeline with Sales Qualification Agent. And effectively, this is an augmentation to Dynamics 365 Sales that is bringing agentic AI capabilities right to the fore when you engage with the platform. So effectively, they are developing and releasing 3 agents: a research agent, which goes away, looks at information about a lead and gives the user information about the person or organization that you're looking at; a prioritization agent that looks at your leads and decides which, based on various factors in the data, should be the top leads that you focus on; and an engagement agent, which makes it easier for you to communicate with leads, use generative AI in your emails, just make it quick and easy for you to take next steps with prospects. We really like these features because they demonstrate Microsoft's vision for the future of CRM. And I think the big change here is that they're trying to make data come to you. If you think about a traditional CRM system, you sit in front of the screen and you go and type in data that you want to find. Well, using AI, Microsoft's trying to surface that information to users, so you have to do less of the searching and more of the using of the data, which is super helpful when you are trying to manage lots and lots of different leads and lots of different opportunities. It's also a competitive play, so it's building on the relationship that Microsoft has with OpenAI, and it's competing with some of the other big CRM platforms like Salesforce, who are building this kind of agentic functionality into their end user experiences. And one of the nice things about the way Microsoft is building these, and I think you'll see this a few times in this presentation, is that it's a baseline for other agents. So you can use the tools in the back office in Powerplatform that are powering these agents to do other things, effectively giving you a suite of templates that you can start with. For membership organizations, we recognize that this D365 sales module is sometimes the least relevant of the D365 apps to membership organizations. But if you're a trade association that's going after organizational members, if you have a publishing arm and you're trying to sell into universities or academic institutions, or you're running events where you need exhibitions and sponsors and you are selling those opportunities, then D365 sales is really, really helpful. I'm not going to play it now, but there's a fantastic video on Microsoft's website that just talks you through the process. I've also got a couple of screen grabs. I'm very sorry that these are low fi. I've had to sort of grab these from Microsoft documentation, but you can see here on the leads view that you've got a new interface at the top that effectively tells you how you're doing in terms of your progress with leads, and then pinpoints the top leads in the system that it thinks that you should focus on. You can then click on one of these leads and it gives you that research, that information about the lead that it thinks is of interest, and you can see it's even telling you why it thinks this lead is the lead that you should focus on. And then finally, that engagement experience enables you to quickly click a button, create an email. You can go and edit that either with Copilot or manually, and then approve and send. So once again, these agents aren't sort of being designed to automate processes without any human intervention. They're there to support humans with the processes they're running. But you can see this makes it a lot quicker and easier for you to get through that activity. Right, as I said, we don't have anything to demo on D365 sales, but let's move over to D365 customer service, where we certainly do. 2 features to call out. We'll actually show you this one. So the first is update knowledge base using customer knowledge management agent. So this is a new feature that once a case is resolved, enables you to use the collateral in the case. So the information that you've used to solve it, any communications you've had with the inquirer, to create knowledge drafts in the system that you can turn into knowledge base articles. We love this because this is time saving. We love this because as a software provider, we know how important documentation is, both to our team when they're dealing with customer service tickets and to our clients when they're using the system. And it's a slick and helpful incorporation of AI into existing workflows. I think for membership organizations, this is probably going to be particularly helpful if you have a technical team that are providing technical guidance use to customers because it gives you a better knowledge source for all of the information that you have sent out. It's also great if you're handling day-to-day inquiries, especially when staff are multitasking. In many of our customers, people are doing lots of different things in their day-to-day job, so having access to knowledge information in the CRM to help with inquiries, massively helpful. And of course, for any organization, this type of functionality makes it easier for you to maintain organizational memory. The second one, unfortunately, isn't something we can yet demo. It's coming out in April 2025, but Chris and I thought this was a really, really nice feature, so we thought we would call it out. They're bringing sentiment indicators into emails that arrive in customer service inboxes. So effectively, at a glance, you can see the sentiment. So AI reads the message, tells you what it thinks the sentiment of the message that you've received is. This makes it easy for you to prioritize because you can see the positive messages and perhaps the negative messages, and therefore jump on the ones that you need to more quickly. It supports proactivity by enabling you to spot where you're dealing with a sensitive issue or customer. And you can use the sentiment information to analyze trends in sentiment over time, which will give you better indications into the types of tickets, perhaps the time of year that you can expect negative emails, perhaps help you improve how you deal with tickets overall. Right, I've switched over into my demo environment, and I just want to show you a couple of quick things around D365 customer service. So I'm in the Dynamics 365 customer service workspace. This is where your agents, your staff will work and interact with customers. And at the bottom here, I've got a Blue Peter-esque case that I made earlier, which has got a little bit of information in it. So there's a description of the inquiry from Abigail, who is the customer, and then I've put in down here a few bits and pieces around the supporting the case, just so that there is some content in here for us to be able to use. There's various AI tools built into customer service to help you. One of them is the generative chat. So I can come over here and I can say, can you help me resolve this case? So this is an agent asking the AI to help it. What this does is it goes off, it looks in your knowledge base, and it comes back with some suggestions around how it thinks you can resolve this case. So this is sort of proactively going out and looking at your knowledge. We've also got Smart Assist, which is looking at similar cases, looking at similar knowledge article suggestions, and making it easy for you to access information that it thinks you might need to solve the case from within the case window. And then you've also got this customer detail. I really like this. If you open the customer detail and drag this along, here you've got access to the contacts record, and you can actually make changes to the record here in real time while managing the case. So a good example for one of our clients is that they might want to join someone as a member. They can take that access directly from within the case without having to go elsewhere in CRM. If I just save this, I'm just going to resolve this case so that I can show you the knowledge article creation. So effectively, I'm just going to say help customer, problem solved, close off the case. Once you've done this, you now have this button up here, which is proposed new knowledge article. And what this does is it goes and looks at the documentation in the case, and it comes back with a proposed knowledge article about this case. So from here I can create the proposal that will start a workflow in the background for this to become a knowledge base article in my CRM. It doesn't automatically create it. It normally assumes that there is some sort of process that you have to go through to approve, edit, update the copy before it is made. But super quick and easy, right? It's one click effectively to create that proposed new knowledge and have it available to you. So really nice incorporation of AI into the case management process there. Right, Chris, stand by because I think I'm going to be coming to you pretty quickly. Just want to highlight a couple of D365 Customer Insights Journey features coming out in the Wave release that we think are exciting. So this first one is a real big one. Effectively, this enables you to use natural language to describe the type of automation program you want to create in D365 Customer Insights, and it goes off and creates a draft plan for you. So effectively, rather than you sitting there programming a campaign from start to finish, this creates a templated starter kit for you that you can go and refine rather than build from scratch. We love this because it's a big time saver. It also supports the creative process by giving you a bit of creative spark, the technology suggesting ways that you might interact with the customer. You can obviously take those suggestions or ignore those suggestions, but it adds to that creative process. And this is a real statement of intent from Microsoft. Now, at the moment, this went into public preview last year and is generally available in April. Now, what we normally see when there's a difference between these two dates, that what goes in as public preview is fairly early stage functionality. It's not fully built out. It requires further refinement from the software developers. But when things go GA, they're normally pretty shrink wrapped and ready to go. So what we think this discerns is that this was early functionality that they wanted to get out for people to test, but they've refined it significantly, and it should now be super useful for organizations that are using it. And to do that for such a big area in such a short space of time is a real statement of intent from Microsoft around how these tools should work moving forward. For membership organizations who are often time poor, this can save a lot of time. Content generation in these programs can be used to tailor the content to different organizations. There's natural language segmentation within the features, which makes it much easier to work with your data, particularly if you're in marketing or comms and not someone who spends a lot of time thinking about how data all joins together. And we can just foresee tons of use cases for this. So supporting your membership renewal cycles, supporting event registration processes, application processes, CPD delivery, the list goes on and on. So this is a really exciting feature, and it's nearly generally available, which is pretty exciting. This is a slightly technical one, but we've got a new piece of functionality that enables you to wait on a segment membership to trigger a next step in a journey. This is great because it enables you to dynamically route customers through different journeys as information that you hold about them evolves, and it provides more options to tailor how the system communicates with members based on actions that they've taken. So like a perfect example of this is like a renewal process. You might start a renewal campaign to all of your members, telling them how important it is to renewal, giving them instructions about how to go online and pay their membership fee, etc., etc. But as soon as they renew and they stop being a sort of renewal prospect and become a current member again, you want to take them out of that renewal campaign. And this trigger functionality just makes it much easier for you to build that kind of process into your membership journeys. And then a slightly left field one, but again one that we thought was worth highlighting, is that there's new functionality to create a Dynamics 365 Customer Insights event portal on your own website. So Microsoft is really focusing on improving the events capabilities in D365 Customer Insights. It's particularly good for free events where you're trying to sort of market an activity like a webinar or an event that you want to be free to members to attend, and to get them to quickly register online and then join communication journeys associated with that event. And this now enables you to build the code that you need for that to appear on your website. You'll notice there's a copy JavaScript code button there that you can just click and get that snippet much more quickly and easily. And we think this probably means that for membership organizations using D365 Customer Insights events, but maintaining that within your own portal, which of course lets you keep your branding, lets you keep your other user journeys around it, could be really, really helpful functionality. So one that we just wanted to call out. Chris, I've spoken quite a lot. I'm going to stop sharing and pause for breath and come to you to show us some of these D365 features.
Brilliant. Thank you, Jeremy. Let me share my screen. Brilliant. So we're busy having a look at Customer Insights, which is the old marketing module. So for those of you that haven't seen it, I'll be going through quite a few different aspects of the module, and I'm going to work at pace because we don't have a huge amount of time to get through all the demo items that we want to do. So the first thing to just bear in mind is that the Copilot within Customer Insights works a little bit differently, that it's more of a training application or training Copilot, so we can ask questions about how to do certain things. I've just asked it what's new in Customer Insights journeys, and it will go out and review the documentation, bring me back some links around that kind of stuff. So if you're ever stuck in Customer Insights and you need help on how do I build this audience or where can I find this kind of information, the Copilot assistant is quite useful for that. When it comes to new functionality, as we said towards the beginning, we're going to be having a look at some of the functionality that has come out in previous releases. But under the settings on the bottom left-hand side, we have what's known as the feature switches. Now, this will be available to anyone or the administrators of the Customer Insights module. And as you go through there, you will see that there's lots of different functionality that you can enable and opt into. Some of it's going to be in preview because there's new functionality that's still coming. But if you don't see some of the things that I have on the screen, you can go and have a look under your settings and see if you can enable them. Some of the things are actually kind of old functionality that was removed when they moved over from outbound into Customer Insights. So things like your form pre-fill has now come back, which is really useful functionality, and it was painful to not have it, but we have those things now, which is great. So if I go over to the real-time journey, the first thing I just want to point out is that forms have changed a little bit with the new release. So the first thing is they're giving a little bit more love and attention to event registration forms in general. So that has changed. And as Jeremy pointed out, there's going to be a full portal functionality that comes with that. But one of the things that we've really needed on forms for a long time is the ability to do custom fields that people can complete. So all of these fields that you see on a web form, like the first name, last name, email, traditionally would all link to a field on the contact record. So as long as you had that field, you could map that data to it. But it became problematic if you're trying to record information that you don't need to house on the contact. So things like event preferences. Are they vegetarian? Do they need, is there accessibility requirements, or even questions that you might want to capture as part of a case management or case completion or contact us? Well, we now have the ability to do custom fields on the right-hand side. Once you create a form, if you just save that record, these things will appear. And there's a lot of quite cool stuff that they've brought out with that as well. So you can do things like your multiple option sets, date times, and all of those kinds of things. And that will then live against the form. So when that form gets submitted, you'll be able to see who answered what. You'll be able to build your normal views and reports around that. And it is really useful for capturing additional information that you don't want to have captured permanently on the contact record. So that's quite cool and quite important. The other thing that they've started to do more and more is if you go over to the asset library down on the left-hand side, is underneath our images, they are starting to add AI generated tags. So for each of these images, if I go over on the right hand side, you'll see this little symbol with the stars, which indicates that it's AI generated. And all of these tags have been automatically applied. I didn't actually do anything with them. And as we go through, if I click on this one with the city, we can see all these different tags that have been added to it. You can add your own tags as well. So if I go over to the Smart Impact logo, You can see it's tagged it as logo automatically, but I've then added additional things to that. And the direction of travel is to be able to use these tags to automatically recommend images when you're creating the emails. I don't think it's quite there yet. When I've used it, it seems to not be able to find it, even though I've explicitly used words like smart impact in the email. But it is preview functionality within the email, and it's coming soon, and it will get better over time, I'm sure. If I move over to emails, I'm going to go in and I'm going to create a blank email from scratch. And I just want to point out a few of the new features that have come in the previous release, but as well as in this one. So the first thing is that if you move over to your themes, this is going to tell you the fonts and the colors and things like that. If I click on the triple dots, it's going to ask me if I want to load this theme from the website. This is more prominently displayed in the past, but they've really hidden it away under those dots. And what we can do is we can go over to our website and we can take our URL. Just move my share screen out the way. And if I paste that over there, we can fetch styles. It said it can take a couple of minutes, but I found it to be quite fast. And it's going to go in and it's going to pull out those colors, the font styles and things like that can change as well. But the main thing is it pulls out the color palette automatically, which is quite cool for building out those emails. The next thing that they've added in, this has been in for a little while, but it's also improved over time, is our ability to generate content. So the actual body of our email is using the content creator. So if we add some key points, we're going to need to add a few keywords. If we copy paste a body of text in there, it will automatically suck the keywords out for us, or the key points. But let's say that we wanted to generate an email that is going to talk to our members about their year in review and tell them about some of the cool stuff they've done with us. So let's just add that in as your year in review with Smart Impact. We need to add a minimum of 3 key points. So let's say membership benefits, and then we'll do one more is let's say things you did with us. You've got different tones, so I would like to start with casual because it tends to go a bit overboard with emojis and things like that, but it gives you a really good indication of the difference in the types of content that you can get. So, hey there, fabulous friend, etc. So it brings out a whole bunch of different emojis, all of those things. It's quite cool. I wouldn't necessarily do that for myself, but if we go back to our browse ideas, we can change that tone of voice to things like formal and engaged. I'm not really sure what luxury is, but formal seems to hit the sweet spot. It can be quite, it makes it a little bit more professional, that text. And as we can see, it's pulled out something that makes a little bit more sense, a bit more familiar to us. So I'm going to add that into my draft. And if I wanted to go over to our header, I can then just change that to header 2, make it a little bit bigger. And let's also use our theme colors that we pulled through earlier. Cool. So there we got an email that's starting to come together quite nicely. The next thing that they've added fairly recently, and it takes a little bit of getting used to, but it works really well, is our ability to do personalization based on conditions, but also lists. So I'm going to talk about the lists more than the conditions, but what Dynamics marketing has struggled with in the past is genuine dynamic content. So personalization, like hi, first name, here's your membership details, expiration date, all of those things are quite easy to do, to pull those fields into an email. But it's been quite hard to say that if somebody's based in Scotland, present them this image. If they're in England, present them this image. But the inline conditions allow you to build out those conditions quite easily. But the other thing that was even harder to do than that was to build in a list of different records. So if you wanted to do something like this, which is your year in review, and you wanted to talk about all of the events and all of the CPD that they attended within the last year, that was quite tricky to do. But we now have the ability to do that with the list creation functionality. And again, it can take a little bit of getting used to, but if I want to look at all of the registrations that somebody has had, I can then list how many of these items I want to I want to put in, how do I want to sort that, and I can even choose which columns I want to display. So very much like a list view where you might have the event name, the date, and the topic. You'd be able to include all of those columns as well. So if we wanted to do that, let me just put in one column just so that it makes a little bit more sense to everyone. We're going to pull some data from the event, and then we want to put in the event name. Let's go down to, where is my event name? There we go. So this then generates a little bit of HTML code that you can put in anywhere within the email. Now, in the past, that was really cumbersome to do, to try and build out that HTML code yourself. You needed to be quite technical. Let me just paste that in. But that little strip is going to change depending on who views that. So let's just call that one your events. Now let's put that in bold so we can see it again. Give that a save. And now if we go in and test that content, that would pop up. But first I need to add a subject. Let's call that one hello. And if we move over to our preview and test functionality, if I wanted to change that contact to Abigail, we can then see it's going to look up all of that data. And then as we send that email to Abigail, so it will change and reflect all of her events. You can see I only asked it to do 3, and I didn't actually even give it an order. But you can imagine how that could be quite useful to generate an automatic year-end review for your members to say, these are your CPD, these are your events, these are the programs you engaged in, etc. Moving on quite quickly, I'm not going to go through the entire segment creation, but they've also added the ability to build audiences based on natural language queries. So I'm just going to call this one webinar. So we have a query assist at the bottom that was in preview, is now moved into general availability, and it gives you the ability to write out what it is that you're looking for. So I'm not going to type out a whole one. I'm just going to take the first one, which is contacts who opened an email. But Jeremy will show you a little bit later on how natural language querying for your data is coming more and more into Dynamics 365. And we have the same thing that's popping up in the segment. So rather than us having to know how to build out these segments and these groups, we have natural language processing to do that. And then the very, very last thing I'm going to show you is what Jeremy showed in the slides earlier, and that is that ability to build out journeys using the Copilot functionality. This functionality is quite good. I've asked it to do some pretty complex journeys and it's pulled it together quite nicely. I'm not going to type out a whole thing just to save your time, but let's just pull one of the let's pull out this one. So send a promotional email targeting a member and follow up whether they've clicked on that link. So that's actually fairly complex as well. It's going to ask for different conditions. It's going to generate the journey. It is going to want to know which segment we're going to send to. So it might run into a bit of errors as we go through that, and we just need to manually assign a segment. But things like, well, there's our segment. Let's just give it anyone. Let's add that one in. If you don't mind. Don't know why it doesn't want my segment. Let me just take anyone then. See. Yeah, well, typical demo creation. I should probably start with a trigger, but it would then go in and build that journey for us in real time. And that functionality is still in preview, so it's not quite yet in general availability. That is coming in April, which is why things can be a little messy. But let's go create another journey and see if I can get it. I'll go one more time. But the functionality is quite cool. I usually just go out and build my own ones. And then, as we can see, it's put it out using a trigger, so as they've registered for that event. So I tend to just build my own ones as well, which works quite nicely. The last thing that they've added into customer journey, the customer journey builder, is the ability to do a new type of wait for trigger. So in the past, it's always been looking for a trigger within the journey, like has somebody open the email, but they've now added one which is a person's a member of a segment, and that is actually quite cool functionality as well. I think it's a static segment. Why it doesn't like that one, but it's quite cool functionality to allow people to be put in kind of a holding pattern. So if you think about a membership renewal journey where somebody might join an email campaign where they're going to send a whole bunch of emails, and then you want to wait till, let's say, a week before their expiration, you can then build a segment to put them in to wait for them to meet that segment criteria and then send the email. Cool. Jeremy, I'm going to hand it over to you. So I know that went on a little bit longer, but I hope that was useful, and we will pick up the pace. You're on mute, Jeremy. Sorry. Still on mute. There you go.
Thanks, Chris. Apologies. Right. I'll do Power Platform, then I'll come to you in a moment for some Power Automate bits and pieces, Chris. So want to call out 4 features in Power Apps that we think are particularly exciting. This first one is quite similar to the D365 Customer Insights Journey creator that Chris has just showed us. Effectively, you can come to Power Apps, you can type in a business problem, and it suggests an app to overcome that problem for you. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to click over here just into Power Apps, and I'm just going to get this started in the background. So I'm going to hit this track sales lead. This is in preview, so I'm just going to use one of the suggested business solutions that Microsoft is suggesting, and I'm just going to click play on that and let that work in the background, and in a moment I'll come back and show you what that's doing. So that's effectively going to take that business problem, track sales lead, and suggest a Power App to me that I can use to solve that. We think this is great. It empowers internal teams to be able to create their own Power Apps without necessarily having to rely on a partner. It's very quick at creating prototypes for you to test and see what they look like, and it supports learning by highlighting features again that you might not have been aware of before. Again, you can choose to use those features, you can choose to discard them, but it helps you to learn how you're using the system. Came out in December, available in September. I think this is very much nascent functionality at the moment, but this could be really helpful when it's finally built. This is a nice one. I'm going to show you it in action. So I'm going to show you how you can get a AI record summary on a contact. I think you'll see pretty immediately how useful that can be. Again, public preview at the moment, coming out later in the year in GA. Really nice addition to forms in Dynamics. And then there's a couple of nice enhancements here to filters and views, again building in natural language and making it easier for you to visualize data in your view. I'm going to show you what that looks like, so I won't spend ages on the slide here. So this is what's been produced by my Power App creator. So it's looked at the business problem that I gave it, and it's created a little table structure for me to go and build out that app. So you can see you've got the lead, you've got the company, because you obviously need to know the company that the lead has come from, and you have got the interaction. And I can click over here, save and open app, and it will effectively go and build this out for me. Again, I'll do that just so that that's running in the background. Come back to it in a moment. But let me show you some of these enhancements to forms and views. If I just go and look at Abigail's record here, Abigail's my hero record in Dynamics. So she's got lots and lots of data against a variety of different things. We've created a record summary for her that just pulls out some of the most important information that we might want to have at our fingertips when dealing with her. We can see her join date, we can see her expiry date, her membership grade, how many CPD points she's earned in this period, how many CPD points she needs to get before the end of the CPD cycle so that she remains compliant. And it just appears just at the top of the screen. It's similar to the highlight summary that you've probably seen in other areas of the system, but you can add this to a record. It's quick and easy, makes it nice for you to find summary information. Let me show you this natural language processing. Need my active contacts to come out. So up here in the top left-hand corner, I've got try to search in your own words. I'm just going to say city is London. Help it out a little bit by telling him the field that I want to look at. But what this does is it goes and filters my query, filters the view just to people in London. You can see it's added the filter to the view query, just like if I'd gone up and edited the filter manually. So it makes it nice and easy. I could also say member status is current, and this will give me just my current members in London. So just making it nice and quick and easy for you to find information quickly. I just want to show you this last thing. There's a new button over here on the top right hand side called Visualize. This is a new chart builder functionality. It's much less clunky than the old chart builder. You can click it, and like the Visualize Power BI feature, it goes and it suggests what it thinks the best chart for the view that you're looking at is. But you can also go and edit it. I quite looking at membership grade by membership class and membership status. I can change the view if I want. Let's make this a clustered column chart. There you can see my chartered members, my certified members, and I can see their different statuses: payment pending, current, lapsed, cancelled. And we don't do very good in our demo instance at keeping people up to date with their payments. If I just click current there, it's still got the same slicer that you will be familiar with from the old chart functionality. You can still open the chart up and see it in big, makes it nice and easy for you to screen grab, add to a report. Just a much nicer, more modern interface for doing that. And again, what we like about this is that, again, it's statement of intent from Microsoft that they are keen to keep developing the underlying tools, but building some of that AI functionality in as they are doing that. Right, back to the PowerPoint. Let's talk about some Power Automate features that are coming up. And again, I'm going to hand over to Chris shortly to show some of this in action. So creating generative actions in Cloud Flows, another big one, similar to D365 Customer Insights journey creation and the Power App Creator. You can create instructions for Cloud Flows to go and build out themselves, effectively prompting the flows to create what you want them to automate. We think this is potentially game-changing potential for the usefulness of Power Automate, because it makes it far less codey, far more easy for end users to tell the flow what it wants them to do. It enables you to incorporate a range of different tools into your flows, so things like document reading, text generation, data interpretation. For membership organizations, you can personalize communications generated by flows, quickly and easily incorporate information from other flows into flows, and incorporate core activities such as document scanning and data extraction as you go. It's also a really nice new feature in the expression builder. Don't know if you've ever tried to create expressions in Power Automate before. Can be a little fiddly, can feel like you're having to code rather than just using natural language. This expression builder makes it much more simple. You put in the box what you want the expression to do, so effectively what you want your formula to do. It goes off and it creates that expression for you. Came out in January. We've been testing it a lot. We're finding it really helpful, but not 100% accurate all the time. Again, we expect by May it to be much better, and it will be something that people will use a lot. Processing documents with Copilot prompts. I'm actually going to show you what this looks like, so I won't wax lyrical here, but it enables you to do a lot more with documents within Power Automate flows. I'll stop there and come to you, Chris.
Jeremy, I'm a bit conscious of time. Maybe it would be better for us just to move straight over to Copilot Studio, go through the functionality there and jump straight into demo.
Why not? Okay. I tell you what, why don't we say at the end that we'll stay on for a little bit longer and just look at some of the Power Automate stuff if people want to stay. We're obviously far too excited about all these new features coming out and have prepared too much content. So Copilot Studio is Microsoft's new GPT creator for want of a better way of describing it. It enables you to create your own co-pilots to do specific activities. Sometimes they're chat-based activities, sometimes they're agentic automation activities. And we think this is a massive game changer for the platform because it enables you to deal with some of the things that have been asked about in the chat today by making your chatbot agents much more intelligent. There's a few things that are coming in this wave release we want to highlight. The first is new pre-built agents. So when you open Copilot Studio, Microsoft has created a whole host of templates that you can just start using immediately to create agents. The best thing about these, though, is that you can then go and edit them. So if you see something like the Financial Insights agent, you think that sounds really helpful, I want it set up, you can open it and then you can go in and tailor it to your specific requirements. It makes it much quicker for you to get up and running with these co-pilots because you don't have to start from scratch in building them. The next one is analyzing knowledge sources. So knowledge sources are collateral that you give the agent to give it knowledge about your organization. So they're documents, your brand Bible, they're things about what you do and what makes your organization unique. And then the agent can use that information to tailor its responses. But something people often want to know is what knowledge sources are being used, which ones aren't being used, when are there errors, when are the answers good, when are they not good, and how do we improve our knowledge base to support improvement of the agent. And this little feature is going to enable you to measure the knowledge sources as they are used so that you can go off and refine them and make it much more relevant. Again, this is sort of starting a process of using these tools as the go-to place to find out information about your organization. And a final feature just to highlight is that you can now enrich agents with third-party data using extensions. So again, this is only just in preview. GA is coming in May, but there are already several, I think about 30 different connectors that you can use to connect your agent to other platforms to enrich the data that they are using. Two big uses for this. Firstly, it means that your agents can have data from other systems in them, so they become more intelligent. But secondly, it means you can start thinking about using Copilot agents as the place to go and find information about contacts, members, organizations, without having to go delving into those other systems. So again, it's about bringing information to the user by connecting everything together. Let me stop, Chris, and hand over to you.
Thank you. So the Copilot Studio, as Jeremy mentioned, is our ability to build chatbots, interactive bots. Some of them will also hang around in the background. You don't actually have to interact with them and they'll do their own thing. So down at the bottom, we have our ability to explore different agents, as Jeremy just pointed out. Many of them are in a coming soon state, so they're still being built and released. But there are quite a few out the box that you can go in and kind of reverse engineer and try and figure out how they were built and how they work. But if you think about a very typical sort of previous generation chatbot that might sit on your website, if I go over to the agents that I build, something like it's an agent or a chatbot that would help you to understand your website or help visitors to understand the website and move around. In the past, that would typically be built out through kind of predefined topics. So you would tell the bot, if somebody asks about membership fees, you'd explicitly state the keywords associated with it, then provides them this information. Or if they ask about events, then provides them this kind of information. But what Copilot now has is the ability to use generative AI for orchestration. So the ability for it to use its own understanding of the questions, of the task at hand, and be able to answer those questions itself. Again, we have the ability to add knowledge, as Jeremy pointed out, and I'll come back to that in a second. So I've just built a very basic assistant that is looking at the Smart Impact website. It is I've managed to host that on just a very demo website. Excuse my typo. So, but if I say, even though it is a typo, actually, I said do technology, not what technology do they work with. It's still able to know what it is that I'm asking about, and it brings up the information, tells me that it works with things like Kentico, Dynamics 365, etc. So kind of a search assistant is very rudimentary, but interesting introduction to generative functionality and its own ability to figure out what needs to happen. But a more robust, a more agentic approach to it would be something like this that I built called the bounce agent. So just to give you a bit of a use case here, you're marketing executive, you send out a lot of communication, you often get out of office replies. Some people saying, thank you for your email, I'm on leave. Some people saying, thank you for your email, I've now left the company. You don't want to keep sending to those contacts, even though they're not technically bounced. You don't want to continue to send them. So you want to go into CRM and deactivate that contact. Now, in the past, you would have to go trawl through all of your different emails, read them, contextualize them, go into CRM and update it. But what you can do with Copilot is build out that process within it. So the very first thing that they've introduced is this concept called triggers. So very much like Power Automate would start a flow based on something happening, we have the ability to use various different triggers. So things like a file being updated or a CRM contact being created. I've used it when a new email arrives. What it then does is I've told it in the prompt to read that email and understand the email. And if that contact is about has left the company, so things like using the words like this email is not monitored, no longer with the company, then I wanted to go into Dynamics and perform an action, which is also new functionality, and actually close down and deactivate that contact. So I have this contact called Bob. He's an active contact within CRM. And if I send an email to myself, which has that kind of that functionality, or sorry, that wording, I no longer work at Roundtree, what will then happen within Copilot is in the background, it will pick that up once the email arrives in my Outlook. And then it's going to try and understand whether that person has left or not. If if they haven't left, it's going to ignore it. And if it has left, then they're going to go into CRM and deactivate that contact. And over on activity, we should start to be able to track everything that's been happening with that one. So this one happened a little while ago. So I don't think that's the one, I don't think it's come through yet. But then that will then trigger that. And if we go over to the actions, there's lots of different things that we can do, not just within the Microsoft ecosystem, but there are many other actions in invoking other systems and other tools as well. But really what the secret sauce to all of this is this ability for generative orchestration. So once you enable that, that gives the AI the ability to choose which of the actions are most applicable. So what you might want to do is, if the person hasn't left the company, you're going to flag that email. But if they have, then you're going to want to remove them from Dynamics. So there's really a lot of really cool stuff that you can do. We can see my one's now come through 10:31, so that was a minute ago. There will be a flow that runs in the background that will deactivate this contact. So it might not yet be there. It's already been deactivated. So that email came through. I didn't need to pass that information at all. The Copilot was able to pick that up, which is quite cool. Jeremy, I'm going to leave it there. 2 minutes over. I hope that's all good.
Thanks, Chris. So just back to slides. What I'll do is I'll formally close the webinar now, but why don't we stay on for 10 more minutes for anyone who's interested, just to talk about some of the Power Automate functionality we didn't get to, Chris. So look, we hope this has been a useful session. Thank you ever so much to everybody for attending. If you're interested any more insights into any of the features we've discussed today, please don't hesitate to get in touch. Chris and my contact details are on the screen there. As I said at the beginning, we are doing a lot around practical AI for membership organizations, helping use some of these Microsoft tools, helping use some of our own smart AI tools that we've developed specifically for membership organizations into their business processes and workflows. If you're interested in finding out more, you can visit our website, where there are a range of free resources available. but also get in touch with us if you'd like to discuss how we think you can start using AI tools to improve your ways of working. Some really exciting things emerging every single day. And finally, we run webinars every single month, normally at 9:30 on a Tuesday. Realised today is a Thursday, but we couldn't contain our excitement about all these new features enough. So we sort of square pegged it in. But we'd love to see you at a future webinar. We cover a wide range of CRM and digital issues. We try and get demonstrations in whenever we can. So it would be great to see you. Right. Conscious many people will have to move on at this point, but we've still got a large number on the call. So let me, where should we go first, Chris? Shall I come over to you first?
Yeah, actually, if you don't mind, Jeremy, maybe I can ask you to do the Power Automate, and I'll actually go back to something that you're showing within Power Apps, because I just want to point out something that's changed since this functionality. So your ability to build an app has actually changed. So up in the top right, you have the try the new Power Apps experience. And this is new functionality that has come out to bring in a new piece of technology called a plan, which is actually pretty powerful functionality that you can work through. So like what Jeremy pointed out with that ability to build an app, they've now taken it one step further to kind of define it more in project terms, in terms of users, the different users of the system, but also build out a wider range of functionality. So I've just said that I need a solution to help me manage the grant application and grant award process. And if I hit that, would you just give it a second? But you see that on the left-hand side, it's pulled out a full canvas and it's busy thinking through the business problem. It's thinking of the different users that are associated with that. And then it's going to map out kind of the solution that it's going to need. So we can see from a grant, all I asked was just one line. I need a solution to help me with grant applications and the grant award process. It's pulled out that it's going to need an applicant, a grant administrator, a reviewer, and then various pieces of information that each of those people will need. If I say add these roles, it's then going to go in. This is kind of the part that takes the longest. It can take about a minute. So it's not really that long, but it's going to go in and try and understand the tables that are required as part of this. So very much what Jeremy was showing in the previous screen, that ability to build out the different tables and functionality. It will then go in and you can see that AI logo once again, and it's going to try and map out the actual defining of the tables doesn't take very long, but it does take a minute or so just to finish processing it. But in each of these, once the processing has been done, you can open them up. Very much what Jeremy showed. You can see the schema and the relationships between them. You can see the tables. And for each of these different areas, we can also give additional feedback. So we can say edit, and if there's additional tables we need, we can do that. But we can see that we have a grant application, there's a grant award, it's linked to a review process, all of those type of things. And if I move over and just click on show details, then it brings up that schema very similar to what Jeremy was showing earlier. And then there's one more thing that it can do for us. So once we're happy with the tables, it would then actually go out and build the user experience. So what Jeremy was showing with that ability to build a Canvas app, it will do that, but it will build multiple different apps. So maybe the applicant will have a Canvas app that they need to submit the application on, which we can see over there. The management team will need a model-driven app, and then the review team who are sitting around a boardroom will then have another Canvas app on their phone that they can go through. Linked with that, it also creates a couple of Power Automates, so assignment notifications, status update notifications, and then we can go in and edit that. So if there were additional Power Automates that we would need, we can then go and add those in as well. And then once we're happy with the add these user experiences, it says, cool, you've accepted that, and then we would confirm it and we'll go and create all those tables. I don't want it to because it's going to be my environment. I have to go and delete them, but they will all live there and we can work with that. The quite the nice thing about these solutions is that we do have the ability to work with it over time. So if we don't have to do it from start to finish in one go, we do have the ability to save that and then come back to it at a future state if we want to work with it. As I've tried to save it twice, and we can go in there and work with that with other people, or get feedback and things like that. So it's quite cool. It's quite powerful functionality. It's quite impressive. That grant management. I would be interested to see how far one can push that, because our business requirements are always very specific. So yes, we want an option set on type, but then we need to define all of those values. But we can see from a heavy lifting point of view, the ability to create all of those tables and apps for us very, very quickly is very, very cool. Jeremy, do you want to do Power Automate? Do you want me to take them through?
Yeah, no, let me pick it up, Chris, but that was great. So just resharing my screen, what Chris was just showing there was this Copilot helps you plan out solutions to business problems functionality. I hope you can see pretty powerful stuff using generative AI to actually solve problems for organizations. I've come over into Power Automate, and I'm going to focus here on the use of generative actions in Power Automate. Again, we think that this is something that is going to be extremely useful to organizations who use flows in their day-to-day work. On the left-hand side, you'll see I've got an AI hub, and if I come to my AI hub in Power Automate, this gives me access to a swathe of tools that are available. So I'm going to be focusing on prompts, but there's also some AI models that you can use. There's also some document automation functionality, which is really geared up towards multiple documents, so extracting information perhaps from a pile of invoices or from a pile of application forms. But I want to look at prompts. If you're familiar with ChatGPT, and I can't believe that there's very many people left these days who aren't, you'll know how prompts work in principle. You go and ask the system to do something, and it generates some content to support that. So I'm going to hit build your own prompt, just to sort of do this in a slightly piecemeal but building up the foundations piece approach. Let me ask this. Tell me in 50 words about Henry VIII. So just like ChatGPT, what this does is it goes and answers my question and creates a prompt response. So you can see on one level, you can sort of do the same sorts of questions that you would do in sort of normal use of ChatGPT. But what you can also do is you can bring in documents. So I'm going to bring in a document which is actually also about Henry VIII. So from my desktop, I've got a little PDF. If you're interested in what it looks like, just for background, it's just a short paragraph about Henry VIII that I got ChatGPT to build for me. I'm going to call it Doc1 and add that import in. So summarize this document for me in 50 words. Test the prompt. So this is now using a piece of collateral to give me something very, very similar. So rather than using its general knowledge, it's actually using that document to give us that information. On the left-hand side over here, we've got some various controls. So you've got inputs. Inputs are the documents that you are giving to the prompt to analyze. You can add images, you can add text in to support that. We've got knowledge. Knowledge is, as we've already talked about in Copilot Studio, sort of background information that you give the prompt to help it with its responses. So common use case for this is you give it things like information about your organization, information about your brand guidelines, information about how you talk, maybe technical information that informs the prompt responses that you're looking for. You've got outputs. You can output as text, like this, or you can output as JSON. JSON makes it easy for you to incorporate these outputs into flows or into other activities. And then you've also got some settings. So the type of model you're using, it has to be the advanced model if you're working with documents, but just for text generation, you can use standard GPT-4o. Gives you an idea down here of the potential credit expenditure for using these tools, and also the response time. You can manage the temperature, which is how creative the response is. If you're using record retrieval, let me just remind myself how I find that. I think that is here. Yeah. In the knowledge, one of the pieces of knowledge that you can use is records from within Dataverse. So you can actually inform the GPT with data from your Dataverse environment, and you can manage the number of records that you retrieve when you are doing that. Just going to close that. So that gives you a background into the basic prompt creator. The other thing that Microsoft has done is given you a whole load of pre-built prompts. So let's have a look at a couple of these. Let's have a look at detect language. So detect language, you put in a piece of text, it detects the language of that prompt. So if I go up over here and I change this maybe and just say au revoir, I was going to test my French here, and hit save, and then test this prompt, it should be able to tell me what language is in that text. As you can see, it's chosen French. Another nice one I like a lot is the identify facts and opinions. Let's open in Prompt Builder. Let's get rid of the text. I'm actually going to clear the prompt, and that's hopeless. Sorry, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to open in Prompt Builder. I'm going to clear the text, and I'm going to add my Henry VIII document back in from my desktop. So I'm going to call that doc1, add the input. I have a feeling I've now got two, so I'm just going to remove that text input and just use doc1. So separate fact and opinion from this prompt, from this document. I just test the prompt. What this does is it analyzes the document, and it's going to come back and it's going to tell me what it believes in the document is fact and what it believes in the document is opinion. I won't go through it line by line, but by all means take a screen grab and see for yourself what you think is fact and fiction within that. So again, what this is doing is it's giving you loads and loads of pre-built tools that you can quickly access to create these prompts. But where we think this becomes really helpful is that you can build these prompt generations into Power Automate flows. Again, in a slightly Blue Peter-esque way, I'm going to show you one that I built earlier on. So this is a handwritten application form import. Let me exit full screen so I can just show you a piece of collateral here. Effectively, I've got a handwritten application form. I know it's very, very sketchy. It's just got a name, an email, a phone, and an address in it. And I've got a mechanism whereby if I add that document to a OneDrive folder, which I've just done, my Power Automate will go off and add that information into CRM. So what it will do is it will extract the data from the image, and it will then go, and if I just go into the run so you can see it. So when the file is created in OneDrive, extract the information from the document using a prompt. And then what will happen over here, eventually it takes about 30 seconds to populate. So I'll just keep an eye on that little whizzing circle, wait for that to go green. Won't be long now. And what will happen is the information from that prompt will appear in my CRM system. So if you recall, I had Ben, I had his email address, I had his phone number and an address. The address is populated over there. So again, the prompt generator enables you to do a whole load of really clever things with documents, including pulling information from documents that you can use in flows in the system. Right, I'm going to pause for breath and I think finally draw things to an end. I know we've gone over significantly. Great to see several people have stayed on through that. So look, a huge thank you to everyone for attending today, and please get in touch if you'd like any more information. Thanks very much, Chris. Appreciate it.
Cool, thank you. I'm just going to answer Anna's question just while she's on. Anna, Copilot Studio is probably a really good solution for that, to be able to generatively understand where duplicates might be and then to be able to flag those records for you. Cool, thank you, everyone.